Elva Mercury is the family. Elva stories, one that we haven't heard on the program before. Mental illness. It's kind of a taboo subject, to be exact. It's rarely you hear somebody come out point blank and say they have mental illness. Because let's be honest, if you say I have mental illness in Jamaica, people say I'm mad. Madman. You picture people, especially Jamaicans, picture Caribbeans, I should say. Picture mental illness as mad people who walk up and never eat out a rubbish bin. You understand me? It's a whole lot of function of people out there with mental illness. Hence Elva. You understand me? She can go into depth on that. I'm just giving you an overlook on exactly my take on this. Because some people look at it like they're mad. But she look mad. Woman, she look nice and comfortable, but she has mental illness. She has a family, she's married, she has her kids. You understand me? We don't have me now going into that. I'm going to let her speak. I don't know my style. I'm just have to give you an introduction to Miss Elva. With that being said, Elva, the floor is all yours, man. Hold on, make 1 second then. Hold on, Mr.
Okay. All right. So my name is Elva Mahabee, and I'm 42 years young. All right. So I have what they call borderline personality disorder. And borderline personality disorder it's a complex mental health issue that if it is not diagnosed, it can lead to a lot of other things. It can be very detrimental because if it is not diagnosed, then it cannot be treated. No. I hear you mention some things epic, and I want to touch bits of it whilst I go on with my story. One, yes, I'm mad. And a lot of people won't understand when I say that. A mad person and a stupid person is two different people. It's okay to be mad, but it's not okay to be stupid. If you're mad, it doesn't mean that you cannot get help. Because if you have the people around you, the right support around you, if you're educated about your madness, then you will get the help you need to get the support to stay on track. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It is quite taboo, and especially in Jamaica, where people are mostly not diagnosed. Because the first time I was diagnosed, I was 14 years old, and that was with hysteria. And at that point, I was displaying suicidal ideation, paranoia, insomnia, and what else? And anxiety.
Wait a second. You had suicidal thoughts at 14?
Yeah.
Earlier than, but it was picked up at 14.
Okay.
At 14. So at that time, I was diagnosed by Dr. Earl Wright. He is one of the top psychiatrists in Jamaica at Mandeville Hospital with hysteria. Nobody's were allowed to, I think up to this day, allowed to read their dockets, but I did. And I looked up hysteria, and it meant madness. And I was
looking at docket, and you was diagnosed with
the hysteria.
Okay.
And when I looked in the dictionary, it said madness. And so when I went into clinic, I didn't ask him when I was on the ward, because I went on the regular female ward, and he said, no, what would give you that idea? And I thought he was such a hypocrite because he wasn't able to tell me what was wrong with me. I was going to doctors, to churches, it was so much for me because I couldn't understand why I was hearing voices, why I was seeing things that were not there, and why I felt like I did not want to live anymore. And it was really difficult, but I was also an overachiever at school. So at that point, the first time I got ill, I was at Edwin Comprehensive High School. I was just in 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
I had to stop going to school
Mm-hmm.
because I couldn't function. I did not want to sleep, and I felt like I could hear the ant walk. I was hearing everything. I was so aware of everything. I felt
Wow.
like I was feeling my hair grow anywhere on my body. Like I could feel everything. I was very in tune with what was happening with me. And up to today, I'm not sure if I was hallucinating at that time, at that point. But that was how I was feeling. And I remember sometimes like the voice telling me, go on, run, jump over the bridge. At one point I nearly jumped over the bridge.
Oh.
I heard a story. My mom caught me by my dress. And my mom is a very big woman, so happy Mother's Day. Like, she has laid out her heart and her life for me. You know, she protected me because she was in Cayman, I think, in the beginning, but she came back just in time for the big hole to see some of the things that were happening. The worst bits that happened, she was there. She never left us or side
And
after
all
that.
this started at 8.
Well, at 8, so I blocked out a lot of what happened in my earlier years. I am
Okay.
not. So I was asked a lot of questions, and I will not try to fill in what I don't know with lies. Some people seem to think that, oh, maybe you were molested, or maybe you were, you saw something tragic, you saw somebody die. I don't remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Never liking life, though. I used to wake up, and I just used to, I grew up with my grandma,
Mm-hmm.
and my grandma, like, they were more fortunate because my aunts were in America. My mom were in Cayman at the time. My mom was in Frankfields, Clarendon, Jamaica. And my mom had my 2 younger siblings, and she was very poor. They didn't have electricity. They didn't have nothing. They didn't have a TV or nothing. But I always wanted to be where my mom was. Whilst I was with my grandma, I was going to private school. But I lied. I went into a fight. Even when I wasn't fighting, I would tell them that I ended up in a fight because I wanted to go back where my mom was. I wanted them to be tired of me and send me to my mom.
Okay.
I did. And I wanted to die. I literally wanted to die.
When was the first time you committed suicide or you
That's
tried to commit
right.
suicide?
So the first time, and I only found this, I only remember this 2015. The first time I tried suicide, I heard a story about rum and cornmeal. And it was adults talking. That is why people have to be careful what they say around their children. And I heard a story that a man went to a rum bar and they poisoned his rum with cornmeal and that he died. And they were talking about election. I don't remember exactly which year. If I go back, I can remember. But they were saying if one particular party won, we would have died. And I wanted, even at 8, to die on my own terms. So what I did, my grandma, she used to bake on a Sunday. They used to bake rock bun, cake, and all of that. And they used to sell a lot. So they used to buy a lot of rum and put down, but it was put under the bed. At that time, the seal for the rum, Rare Navy rum, the old time, it wasn't
Yeah,
sealed.
then you didn't have the measurement inside to seal it.
So what I did, I was a thief from that time. I stole the I put it in a cup, but I know my grandmother and I did not want to die, so I threw some water in there. And I poured cornmeal in there. And I didn't even add water to it. I swallowed it and I was happy that I was going to bed and I was not going to wake up. I was going to die. And I woke up the morning. I was being sick. I was vomiting. I was shaking. My head was hurting. So later on in my adult life, I realized that I had a hangover. I was so angry that I did not die.
So, wait, hold
You
on,
were angry that you did
hold
not
on.
die.
Me not
Wow.
cut you. Me not cut you. That's a folklore for years. Because I'm a person that drink a little rum from time to time. And that is something I always afraid of. So there was no physical harm to you aside from what the rum did basically.
Did
Right. It
nothing.
was just hangover she had.
Yeah, that's what I said, that's natural. That
Yeah,
basically that's all that happened. That's
that's all.
something I always afraid of because you hear that in a bar. You hear that. We not cut you still, but that's something I always hear.
I done it twice.
With the rum and the palm meal.
Yes, I done it twice. I done it twice, and I had a hangover, and then I never thought about it after that. When I was 14, I was told I almost jumped over a bridge. I climbed a big tree. I used to run away. They got me, found me in riverbed one day. I heard loads of stories. Some I don't believe. Some I don't even want to know, to be honest.
Yeah.
But later on, I felt like I started self-harming, but nobody would know that I'm self-harming. So I didn't know about cutting, but what I used to do is I used to make sure that if I said I was going to kill myself or they would find out, I would be dead, and that would be on their term. And I thought everyone around me hated me, and I didn't like them much either.
Yeah,
So
because part of borderline personality disorder is kind of like paranoia where you think everybody's against you. So I can see that.
so the relationship with even my siblings, like I had an older brother that I looked up to, that we grew up together, that I loved him to bits, but I wanted to be where my mom was, really. And then when I moved where my mom was, I realized that I really messed up because I was living in a palace and I moved in a small bedroom where it was, I think it was a 12 by 12 with 2 beds. My mom was over there with her partner. There's a on me and my 3 sisters sleeping on a double bed, and I felt like, oh my God, what did I do? I left luxury to come to this. I had to cross a gully and a river to go to school. We used to have to take off the shoes now, and I realized just how bad it was at that time, that my mom was really poor. Then I got really, really depressed, and honestly, I used to stick myself with needles. So, but because it was so tiny, nobody would see it. So I would run the needle in my vein and pull it back out just to feel, because I wanted to feel something, whether it be pain or something. And but that was through primary school. I used to, yeah, grade 5, grade 6. I failed my common entrance, but I passed my special entrance. So when I went to high school, I went in a good grade. Just close to where everyone who was doing common entrance, they were placed in around the same grade. We were doing the same classwork. So I didn't feel as bad, but then I started feeling bad because of other environmental factors around me. They were not always, sometimes they were not always real, and sometimes I think they were imagined, but I just thought I was the black sheep of the family. It's that it was necessarily so, but that is what I felt. I felt like I was a black sheep of the family.
Yeah, because it kind of affect your perception as well, and all of that.
I was ugly. I still have a scar in my face. I was either too skinny or too fat. And I always have an imagined self-hatred.
Yeah.
All right, so
I'm not gonna cut you, but okay, we understand that you had a lot of symptoms, but how was the diagnosis? Because you were saying that you got diagnosed at 14 at the Mandeville Hospital, after they diagnose you, what was the steps? Did they try to help you, put you on medication? What did they try to do when they diagnosed you?
Yeah, they tried to put me on medication. I was too scared. I was only young. They put me on medication. I stopped going to school. I'm mad. I can't go to school. I go to school, I drop down. Anxiety, I can't breathe, I'm going to die, that kind of thing. So they removed me from Edwin Allen, and one of my mom friend took me in Spalding. So I started going to Christiana. I think I went to Christiana for maybe 2 or 3 weeks.
And all this time you was not on medication or any therapy whatsoever?
I came off medication because they only gave me the medication for a short period.
Okay.
Sometimes you had to pay for medication as well, and it was my mom. And that's
Okay.
it. I had my mom.
Okay, so mental health medication in Jamaica at that time was not free. Do you know if it's free today?
No, yes, it is free today. Some bits of it is free. So if you're on antipsychotic like I am, I live in the UK, but I've got a National Health Fund card because the medication are so expensive. Like my medication in Jamaica to survive 1 week without that card is about 8,000 something dollars for 1 week.
8,000 Jamaican dollars for 1 week.
That's a good money, yeah. That's a good money.
Yeah, that's a good money. Yeah. So during that time at 14, you was not on any medication because medication was expensive.
Yeah, I got some medication, but it was only for a short. The medication I got was only for a short time, and then I had to go back, and it was difficult for my mom because my mom had two other children to take care of, and I dropped out of school basically. So I dropped out of school at 14.
Mm-hmm.
And I started so I got my first trade when I was 14. Well, I had other trades. I was doing other things before. Picked up like crocheting. We used to crochet. I learned that from my grandma and my cousins. We used to sell those to people like in summertime. So I learned to sew. So there was community center in Frankfield where I went. And I started making uniforms for people. And I said to my mom, I want to go back to school at 14. So I think it was like from January, I'd stopped going to Christiana. And then by September, I went back to school. So I started going to Claude McKay this time. That's in Clarendon as well. So when I was on no medication at this point, none was. I started going.
During this time while you were not on medication, were you having episodes and symptoms still?
Yeah, but they didn't know. Like,
okay, you didn't realize it.
Yeah, I knew I was having, but I didn't want everybody to look at me like I was mad. To be mad is one of the worst things.
Okay, so you was hiding your symptoms.
Yes, I was hiding my symptoms, but I used to talk to I was like a proper lunatic. I used to talk to the walls. Like even since I'm an adult, like I talk to the walls. Like I don't really keep friends, and me and them crack some joke, and they're really funny and all of that. Like best friends with them, tell them all my secret. They don't tell anybody back. They talk back to me. I talk with myself. Like I hear voices out of my head, like me speaking to myself inside my head, out of my head, which is really crazy, and them kind of things. But nobody knew that was happening.
Okay.
When I was too old to go to school, I was 18. Then I got pregnant with my second child.
At 18.
Yes, I had him at 18. Shortly after I got pregnant with him, and I still wasn't on medication. So when I was pregnant with him, I was very sick, very, very sick. I used to see things, the same kind of things, seeing things. And Jamaican favorite word was doppy depanar. Somebody I think a lot of people might be familiar with that. So it was somebody do me so, or Duppy Depaner. I went to a lot of churches, a lot of people prayed for me, prayer works, but it's not Duppy, it's hallucinations. And after my first child, I gave him to his paternal grandma.
Mm-hmm.
And so the same thing with the second son, because
Why?
because I couldn't cope. I couldn't cope. I was upset one day. I could not feed my child. My mom couldn't deal with everyone. My child want diapers. He's only young, he can't eat food.
Monetary, okay.
Yeah, so my financial circumstances would not allow. And I could not see my child cry for hungry. So that and worked. And then I didn't think I was being careless when I met the second man, because I only met him at a club.
Mm-hmm.
And we went and did the do, and obviously I got pregnant. I didn't expect to be pregnant. But then all the money I was working in Kingston, because I was working and I was maintaining my first child, I never gave up financial obligation of my children.
Mm-hmm.
But emotionally, I kind of could not be there because I did not know. I was a child having children. And I had them so fast. Bam, bam, bam. 1, 2,
And would
3.
you say that basically all this behavior was a mental illness was the underlying factor as to why you was doing all of these things and having kids so young? Because as you said, you just meet a man and have sex with him, and I know that sometimes mental illness can cause people to be impulsive, and maybe they do promiscuous behavior in that state. So would you say that your mental illness contribute to these events?
Yes and no. To be honest, I try not to blame my mental illness for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
I have to take responsibility for some things, even though I have the mental illness, and I have to. I've learned since I was older that I am, by right, promiscuous is probably who I was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was not seeking love or validation, because the women in my family we don't get that. Men use us. So for me, I wanted to have sex.
Okay.
And that was it. Because there was no relationship. I was not really looking for a relationship per se. So I would not want to blame everything to say, okay, it's because of my mental illness. I made decisions that were poor, and if I should say it is because of the mental illness, or it is because it is a part of who I am. Although being a mental health patient is a part of who I am, if you know what I mean. All right, so
I'm not really going to cut you, but could you basically tell me at what point did you basically start getting treatment and staying on the treatment?
Staying on the treatment would have been around 2000, after I had 2005.
Okay, 2000.
Treatment.
Okay.
But the
And
treatment,
how was your first time getting the treatment? How did your body respond? How was it for your mental? Were your symptoms decrease?
no. I felt more suicidal. I was over. It was like a gateway through to hell. I had an escape route, which was not good, because the medication makes you sleepy. Sleep is you can get to death. So I would overdose sometime, and I would drink.
You would purposely overdose?
Overdose on what?
Medication. And even in 2005, my son was 1 year old, 2005, one of my cousins, he's got schizophrenia, but it's because he smokes weed, I think. I'm not a psychiatrist.
Okay, so mental illness, you would say basically maybe run in your family because there's more.
Schizophrenic person.
It's only two. All right. So my cousin, he started showing, he started presenting symptoms when he started smoking weed. So he's diagnosed schizophrenic.
Mm-hmm.
So because I have mental illness and I know he was depressed, but he's been troubled since he was young. He's been smoking weed, he's been doing everything that he's not supposed to do. That has become a way of life for him. And I remember me overdosing on his medication because my medication wasn't strong enough.
So why were you taking his medication? Like that don't make sense.
Because I wanted to die.
OD.
Hmm?
Yeah, sure, OD. That's why she was taking his medication.
Man.
You're not listening.
Hospital.
OD, she plan for OD.
I OD'd a lot of times. Loads of times. Loads of times.
Hold on. There's something positive.
Yeah.
What's the difference? What's the difference between being on the medication and off the medication? How does your body feel? What's the difference? Tell me what.
The thing is, it's being on the right medication or being diagnosed properly. When I was in Jamaica, I was not diagnosed properly. I was diagnosed all those times I was taking medication. They changed every time they asked me. So they tried to work with me with the tools they have in Jamaica. Remember, you go to a public clinic and you don't really want to go to the clinic because you think you're going to see some dirty foot person there and you think they're mad and that kind of thing. But also, I've met teachers, I've met nurses at clinics that I've been to who's gone to see the psychologist or the psychiatrist as well. So that kind of changed my mind later on. After that period, I got married to a British man and I came to the UK. I was still taking medication, but I was on the wrong medication. When I came here,
That's the medication from Jamaica. Exactly. Jamaican medication.
Yeah, man, Jamaican medication. So I came here in 2000 and was it 2008? 2000, I'm trying to remember, 2008, 2009 I came here. I think it was 2008, October 2008 I came here. And when I came here, I went and saw a doctor and I told them what the problems were because I told them the medication I was taking and they started trying. At first they said it was adjustment disorder. I got pregnant with twins again. I got pregnant with twins 2010. And during the pregnancy, my husband was abusive and respectful and everything else. I was the only person here. All my family was in Jamaica. I've got loads of family here, but I didn't know where they were at the time. And I didn't know my family lineage. I didn't know how to find them. So I was alone and I didn't understand a lot of things. So in 2000 and when I was pregnant, I overdosed again with the twins.
Was that purposely?
Wait, hold on. I will break it down to Mr. Dolan. You're pregnant. What put you in such a depression that you wanted to OD again?
My husband.
Oh, the abuse.
It was so mean. I mean, like, he looked at me one day and because I was heavily pregnant, I was carrying twins. My body cannot hold twins. Yeah. And it was like, he looked at me and he said, "You're lazy, nasty, and worthless." And you notice how I talk? He spoke softer than that. like when you bring somebody down to that level where I, of course, I'm going to start screaming. I sound like the aggressor. But he messed me up here more than anything else, to the point where one day I was in the house and I remember I hear him talking. I heard the talking, like him mentioning you're lazy. And I'm looking around like, and I'm like, you're not. And it was like, when I heard worthless, like, I don't know, like, how he said it, like, you're worthless. And it was the laugh behind that, and nobody was in the house. And I had to call the ambulance straight away and beg them. I said, please, I'm dying. Come and get me. And so I was in a mental health institution. And when he came there, I was having problems with the pregnancy, you know. I got a social worker because I realized it's an abusive relationship. More than likely, I'm a vulnerable woman. My child might be at risk as well of abuse, because abuse is abuse. You don't have to hit somebody to abuse them. So he was financially abusing me. He wouldn't give me money to do nothing. He wouldn't feed me. That man, because that man would cook 1.5 chicken breasts. The half is mine. He doesn't eat any other part of the chicken. Yeah.
Why you're pregnant?
Whilst I was pregnant.
I'm listening.
So like, I got a social worker. They came, they spoke to him, they came to the house, they started making sure that I'm being looked after. Because I was on no record.
I don't hear that.
I was on no recourse to public funds because I was on a spousal visa. My husband took me over. So he's responsible for me. I'm not able to get no government funding. So that was very difficult. And I decided I was going to go to Jamaica. There's a story behind that.
I would like to know, like, how was it in the hospital with the pregnancy and
well,
yeah.
You know, in the hospital was really, they were really kind to me, and they were really supportive. I was getting counselors. There was a lot of other people with other mental issues. I decided, knowing the person I am somewhat, I can be an introvert or an extrovert. But I am not going to sit down with one bag of people and start counting stars on the wall when there's no stars on the wall. I rather do that with my wall inside my room and me and my wall talk. I don't want to do it with somebody else. So the staff was okay, and not just that, they understood where I was coming from as well. So they didn't really bother me. So in the hospital, I just ate and got fat.
So they don't really give you therapy or something like that in hospital?
We had like group therapy, which I did not really. When I go to group therapy, I don't say anything. When I go to
group therapy, you said?
Group
therapy.
Yes, so so the whole group going in a room, and we might talk about a particular issue that we're having probably with the food, or if there's anything that we might not like, if we have a particular color nightgown they give us and we don't like it, or anything that's on your mind that you think is pressuring you because they want you to be comfortable. If you think your medication...
Okay, so this therapy was this group session that you would go to would just basically be discussion about the hospital itself. It wouldn't be working on your mental state or something like that.
It would be. It was to encourage you to try to find other people who you could compare yourself with, so at least you can have a conversation with them. Okay. So basically, gearing us up for independent living. So
did you see a psychologist or a psychiatrist at that time?
Yeah, once a week we saw a psychologist, and
it was a group thing again.
Psychologist, mental health nurses, and all of that. So it was like about a group of 6 people, and they review you every week they want to know what has gone good in the week, what has gone bad. Have you thought about the medication you're taking? How is it helping you? Do you feel you're sleeping? How much hours you're sleeping? Do you think that is enough? Do you want to go to the gym because they had everything in? Do you want to take part in prayers? Do you want to go to the mosque, or do you want to go to church or the chapel, or you know what I mean? So it was like a home away from home. It was where you could rest your mind and think about what you want to do. You could get a diary and start making your plans way out of the hospital. So the hospital.
So what medication were you on this time? Do you remember?
Yeah, some of them I remember. So I was on sertraline.
And what is sertraline?
Sertraline is anxiety, and I think at that time I was on olanzapine. Olanzapine is an antipsychotic. I was on it for years, and then I would get 2 other medication, one for sleep. Sometimes they would give me diazepam and another one. I don't remember the other one.
Diazepam is for sleeping.
It's for relaxing. So if you're like anxiety, so I still take diazepam, but only when needed.
What medication are you on now, currently?
All right. So right now I'm on propranolol. That propranolol is twofold. It's a slow release. It's for my migraines. I suffer from migraines, and it helps with anxiety as well. On metazapine, which helps me with anxiety and sleep. I am on quetiapine, which is an antipsychotic. I'm on zopicone, which is for insomnia, to help me to sleep. I get diazepam, but it's if and when needed. So sometimes I get really, really stressed out and my anxiety goes overboard. Otherwise, from that, my bones are no good. So I am on codeine, which is an opioid. I'm a drug addict, really. I'm on codeine. I take paracetamol in between, and I take sumatriptan for the migraine when it's really bad. So I'm somewhere on around 8-9 medication at this point.
And you take it daily, or what is the dosage like?
So the dosage for the quetiapine, is 100 milligram. I take 80 proparanol. I take 15 codeine, but I only take codeine like if I'm going to walk, because my knees are not good. My bones, I have a bone disease. And diazepam is 5 milligrams. So what I do sometimes is if I have anxiety attack, I take half of one. And I don't always take it. Sometimes I see it out. I just stay not. I learn to put myself in a bubble, even if I'm in the public. Sometimes what I do, like if I'm outside, I will just go in a corner, just sit down. Even in a supermarket, I'll just create my bubble and I'll just sit down for a couple of minutes. Anyone come near me, I don't open my eyes. I don't want to see anyone. I just say to them, I'm okay. I'm just having a panic attack. If you stand around me, it's going to get worse. So could you please? Thank you. I'm okay. You don't need to call the ambulance. And
does that happen on a regular occasion?
Pardon?
Does that happen on a regular occasion?
No, not as regularly as it used to. It used to happen quite regularly, but it's not as regular as it used to. It mostly happens that I ain't going nowhere. Seeing people in masks drives me mad.
So basically the medication has it under some form of control then. That's what you're saying.
Like, no, I'm sleeping 8 hours. Like last year was kind of bad. Early on this year was kind of bad. I'm sleeping a good 7-8 hours now. Sometimes I might have go on a 48-hour bender, 2 days, no sleep, none at all. It still happens. And sometimes it gets really bad. I get really tense. I get really anxious. I feel like
insomnia medication is working then.
No, man, if you knew me, if you knew what I was like before, then you'd understand that it is working. It has worked a lot.
They're overpowering it. If you're still up for 48 hours, that's a strong medication. Anything they give you for insomnia.
No, I mean, I take my medication, but still don't sleep for 48 hours. Not sleeping for 48 hours. I can't sleep for 48 hours. Like, no, if I get 6 hours sleep, I'm good. Even if I get 4, I get up in the morning, I take care of my child. I make sure he has his breakfast by 8 o'clock. I make sure that he has his snacks, and make sure he takes his vitamin D. I make sure, you understand, I've got a 3.5-year-old son. He's deaf in both ears, and they suspect that he might have autism. Is very active. So
so could you tell me, since you're talking about this, tell us how does your mental illness affect you in daily life, whereas in work, doing your duties as a mother, how do you function?
All right, so all right, I'm going to put it this way. It's so, in my world, like, I function in the world and I understand how the world works. But this is how I am able to survive. I am my own governor, my own prime minister. I rule over myself and what happens to me. So if like, I have responsibility, like my child is my responsibility. I do not like authority figures, so I can't work for anyone. Not for long. It just
So
does.
you're currently not working.
I have my own business.
Okay.
So,
and that's all you do. Pardon?
I left out a lot. I've done a lot of different studies, because when my second son loves to tell people, oh, my mom is this, my mom is that. I've done acting, I've done nursing, I'm an electrical welder, I've worked in construction.
So you went to school for that?
Yeah, in Jamaica, practical nursing. So I did geriatric. And I've done, I'm a massage therapist as well. I have up to level 4 deep tissue, aromatherapy. I've worked in the spa as well. I did my own hair. I do hair just, well, I don't do nobody's hair. I do my own. I do my friends' hair or my family's hair. I don't like it. But I've been doing design. So basically, I've got this, like, years ago, I went, 2007, I went to America. So I went on a plane for the first time in 2007. Now, when I came back, everybody knew that I had gone to America. I only spent 9 days. And when I came back, everybody, you know what Jamaicans are like, foreigners. So I was like, yeah, a broke foreigner, I have no money. I went for 9 days. I went on holidays. I didn't go to work. I've got no money, because people were like, big girl thing now. So no, man, me a broke foreigner. So all
right, so you have your company, Broke Foreigner, and that's your main source of income.
Can I just say to you, the company is not Broke Foreigner. Broke Foreigner is owned by Mahabee's Promotions, Marketing and Public Relations Limited. It's a huge company that has a different bits of it. So it clothing and textile, it does footwear, it does catering, and it does.
Make one second.